Hello, this is Alessandrina, and today I wanted to talk about negative thoughts and how we can resolve our negative thoughts at the root. So, one of the challenges with resolving negative thoughts is that we are often identified with our negative thoughts. And so, because we don't like the thoughts that we have, the negative thoughts that we have, and we identify with those thoughts as if our thoughts were ours, as if we were creating our negative thoughts. And then, of course, we have other conditioning that tells us that we shouldn't feel angry, we shouldn't think negative thoughts, we shouldn't think XYZ, and we should think ABC. What happens is that when we start to have negative thoughts, experience negative thoughts, we then, as a process of identification with the negative thoughts, and also as a process of those negative thoughts essentially being in conflict with our self-image, with who we want to be or who we believe ourselves to be, then we are in a tug of war. We're in internal conflict with those negative thoughts. And of course, I talk about cycles a lot, and the cycle is that if you have a negative thought and then you judge the negative thought and you identify with the negative thought, and then it doesn't match with your self-image, then you're going to react to the negative thoughts with more negative thoughts, and on and on and on, never resolving the negative thought. So of course, it's a process to get to the point where we accept our negative thoughts, and we actually, by accepting them, we make room to understand them, where they come from. Meaning, again, you are not creating your negative thoughts. They are a result of your conditioning. They're a result of unresolved emotions, unresolved energies, beliefs that you've inherited that you may not even be aware that you have, or may not even have tied with the negative thoughts. And of course, fears. And again, you did not create your fears. Yes, it emanates from your energy, in the sense that whatever you've recorded, whatever you've interpreted about life and reality, is then becomes the essentially the container through which different negative thoughts are generated. So another challenge to resolving negative thoughts, other than identification and judgment and essentially being against our negative thoughts, is that, and the self-image, is that when we have negative thoughts, we tend to react to them, and therefore to begin a cycle of emotion that is going to generate more and more negative thoughts without essentially getting to the root of them. So I mentioned that a moment ago. If we are in a reactive cycle emotionally to our negative thoughts, then we have more negative thoughts, and we never get underneath the surface. We never get to actually recognize where the negative thoughts are coming from. And that is the only resolution to negative thoughts, is to understand the underlying fears, the underlying beliefs, the underlying unresolved emotions, the underlying pain, anything that has been recorded in your system that is not essentially referenced consciously on an ongoing basis, that you're not aware of, which we have 95% of our self that is subconscious, meaning that 95% of how we make decisions and how we experience reality is based on subconscious beliefs and recordings that we don't know we have. Sometimes they come up and we realize them, and oftentimes, because they've already been suppressed, we go back and suppress them again. So that's not a problem. It's just something to be aware of, so that if you truly want to resolve your negative thoughts, which I'm sure if you're watching this video you do, and most people do, although there's also a process of addiction to our negative thoughts. So you could say that at some subconscious level, we can also be wanting our negative thoughts in the sense of simply our addiction, meaning looking for a way to let those thoughts come back so that we can then feel more in control. And I'm going to talk about that in a moment, how having negative thoughts can lead us to feel more in control in life, and how then that is actually the addiction. The addiction is an addiction to control. It's not that we're addicted to the negative thoughts exactly, it's that we are addicted to control, to wanting to feel in control and to be in control. And now that takes me into another challenge with resolving negative thoughts at the root, which is that we imagine that we can control our thoughts. And many people, I talk to many people, and they believe that they can control their thoughts and emotions. And I must say that through my own experience and all of the understandings that I've gained over the years of working with energy and with people, I have not found that anyone can control their negative thoughts or emotions. Yes, we can manage them. Yes, we can respond to them. Yes, over time, we can change them and we can actually resolve them. That said, not through a process of controlling them, because that actually is a process of suppressing them, repressing them, maybe distracting away from them, or going into a completely different part, because our negative thoughts can be generated by different parts. We're compartmentalized, fragmented as human beings. We have different parts of us that have existed, through time. And so when we have a negative thought, it can be associated with a certain part. And so someone can move into a different part of their being where the negative thoughts don't exist, because the energy, the underlying energies and beliefs don't exist in that part. And then they believe that, oh, now I don't have any negative thoughts anymore. And of course, that's not true. So that's not problematic, actually, because once you realize that you cannot control your negative thoughts and emotions, now you have a process where you can actually really tangibly and in a very grounded and actually effective way, you can really work with your negative thoughts and resolve them at the root, which is wonderful. So I'd like to talk more around the topic of what's generating negative thoughts, because once you're not identified with the negative thoughts, you don't believe anymore that you can control them, and therefore it's easier to accept the negative thoughts and not to react to them. Now you have space, you have room to actually look at what's generating the negative thoughts, and therefore to resolve them. If you can look for the root cause and you actually resolve the root cause, then the negative thoughts stop being generated. And now you have the opportunity to have less negative thoughts and to work towards having no negative thoughts over time, as you resolve all of the different parts of your system, all of the different energies and unresolved emotions and stored recordings and traumas and painful memories, limiting beliefs and fears that are generating those negative thoughts. So before the thought comes, and over time you can begin to track that in your system. When you have negative thoughts, instead of being observing it from the back end, you can observe it prior to it happening, and you can become very sensitive to the energies that are flowing in your system when you have a negative thought. So what happens before you have the negative thought? What are you feeling in your body? Where are you feeling it? And as you begin to be sensitive to what you're feeling and to the emotions associated with what you're feeling, and as you no longer react to those energies and no longer generate negative thoughts, what happens is that now you can sit with the energy, you can sit with the emotion, and you can actually begin to hear and begin to really get a deep sense of what is being played out. So it's almost like if you had an audio track that was playing in the background and you couldn't really hear it. It was on really, really low. And still that audio track was playing and it was saying certain things. So for instance, those energies can be saying things like, you're not good enough, you're not loved, you're not cared about, you can't do anything right, something's wrong with you, you're not worthy, you're not deserving, etc., etc. You'll never be able to achieve, your goals. You'll never heal. I mean, it's endless. All the different recordings and all the different energies that we can have recorded in our system and not resolved, that generate negative thoughts and emotions. It's kind of infinite. As much as we've experienced life, and if you believe in past lives, those energies, until they are essentially looked through the light of consciousness and understood in a more conscious way, when those energies were recorded and when we made an interpretation, even pre-verbal, meaning before we were able to speak, before we had language to kind of make sense of the experiences that we were having internally, of the energies that were processing through us, of the energies that were being exchanged between us and other people, until we start to be able to get in touch with that and really feel that, and then hear, right? It's almost like, in a way, when you're no longer identified with your negative thoughts, when you're no longer judging your negative thoughts, when you're accepting them and you're no longer trying to control them, then what you're doing is you're essentially turning up the volume on that audio track, and you're actually able to listen to what you're feeling, to listen to what is being said, to listen to maybe the limiting beliefs that you're carrying, that you've embodied and that you've recorded and that you're playing out over and over again, and that just get triggered through the environment. Like something happens, let's say someone goes for an interview, and during the interview they feel like they didn't do well, and now they get triggered in the fear of not being good enough. Well, if they had never been a fear of not being good enough, they would not have made this association, this interpretation about what happened. They would have interpreted things very differently. So that's true with all of these different negative thoughts that we can have. They get triggered. That set the underlying energy, the subconscious recordings and beliefs and fears and unresolved emotions are already there. And so when you turn up the volume, because you're not against your negative thoughts anymore, and you're really actually wanting to understand where they stem from, then over time, as you practice that, and it can take some time, as you practice that, you become more and more able and capable of hearing what the negative thoughts are actually, what they're generated from. So what is being said, what is being felt viscerally at very deep levels of your system. And then once you actually become aware of that, now you have the capacity to resolve the negative thoughts. Because if those unresolved emotions, energies, beliefs, and fears in your system no longer exist, because you look at them and you resolve them, then there's no more negative thoughts. So once you do that, of course, those energies and unresolved emotions, limiting beliefs and fears, it's important that you work with them, because it's not just a matter of becoming aware of them and then putting them back where they are, resuppressing them, or distracting away from them or avoiding them. It's a matter of facing them. Like I believe it's Carl Jung that says that the only way out is through, or that essentially whatever it is that we want to resolve, we must feel it. We must be willing to face it and to transmute it through that process. So when we're sitting with the negative emotions, the unresolved emotions, the traumas of the past, it doesn't mean that you're relieving the trauma. You're just allowing those energies that have been suppressed to come up, and then you're working with them. You're transmuting them. And this process of transmutation, there are many different techniques that you can use. You can use the Sedona method, the Ho'oponopono mantra. You can use the forgive and forget technique. You can use the I am my fear, or the who is it. All of these processes we teach in some of our videos on YouTube or on our website. So you can find them on our website also. And when you practice those transmutation techniques, what happens is that because the energy is available to you, because you're bringing it up, it's coming to the surface to be worked with, and then you're applying a tool that is going to help you change the energy, transmute the energy like an alchemist. When you do that, now the energies start to resolve. They start to be cleared and to be released from your system, from your being, and now the negative thoughts stop being generated. So, of course, it doesn't happen overnight. We would all like if we could take a pill, a magic pill, and all our negative thoughts would just go away. We would like that. And what would we learn through that process? We wouldn't learn that all of the processes of suppression, repression, distraction, avoidance, attachments, aversions, fears, beliefs, and all of the expectations and judgments and all of the things that make up our ego. Well, how would we learn to deconstruct that and to heal that and to resolve that if we didn't have our negative thoughts? So our negative thoughts, as uncomfortable as they may be, as not, let's say that to our self-image, as much as we would, prefer to never have them, at the same time, they are very valuable. So you can even, in your process, love your negative thoughts. And by the way, that's a process of transmutation. When you learn to love something that you've rejected, that you've judged, that you've blamed, that you've punished, that you have maybe even hated, right? Most people hate their negative thoughts. When you learn to actually love it, you are transmuting it. You are with the energy and you are learning to completely be with it and be one with it. And therefore, it tends to dissolve, resolve, and then integrate into your being. So that now, instead of being a fragmented being, one moment you have a negative thought, another moment you're happy, the next moment you have another negative thought, and then again maybe you're happy. Instead of that, you're more integrated and more peaceful and more joyful and in a state of love for yourself, of all parts of yourself, which is very relevant with a video I recently released on loving yourself. Right. So when we love all parts of ourselves, then the parts of ourselves that we used to not love, they can be healed, they can be resolved. So that is actually the fastest track and the most effective path to actually resolving the things that we have in the past rejected or not wanted to see or wanted to suppress, to repress, or to avoid. I hope this is helpful and that through this process you have a map to actually resolving your negative thoughts, and that you feel this sense of progress, and also that it's possible, really, that it is possible for humanity. There are many beings on this planet. For instance, just to take some, I'm aware through my own research and my own personal experience that Buddhist monks, for instance, and lamas and very highly attained spiritual beings in that community. Not to say that in all religions and in all different philosophies and spiritualities that they can be also the same level of being free from negative thoughts. This is just my personal experience, and I know that in those communities, in the Buddhist communities, at a very high level of attainment, most of the monks don't have thoughts or don't have negative thoughts. So there is a process, there is a path, and it's just about exploring it and choosing it. So if you choose that path of releasing your negative thoughts and you explore it for yourself, you will experience it, and you will experience less and less negative thoughts, and your life will be more and more peaceful and joyful and more filled with love. And I wish that for you. I'm sending you much love.